In this episode, we're going to look at how to troubleshoot inter-VLAN routing. I'll show you how to do it, and we'll talk about the concepts along the way. What we're going to do here is we're going to troubleshoot connectivity problems caused by improper configurations related to VLANs and inter-VLAN routing. We'll be discussing locating network problems, implementing the solution, and then verifying network connectivity. Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify nation, and if you're new here, welcome. This episode is part of my series on configuration examples for the CCNA. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. Troubleshoot Inter-VLAN Routing. I got our packet tracer file open. On the left side is our work area where we can see our topology, work with the devices and do our configuration. On the right side, I have our instructions. On the bottom right, I have the actual packet tracer activity window that opens up with our packet tracer file. On the top right, I have the Word document of those instructions. There's some questions we have to answer in this exercise. The Word document allows me to enter my answers in and save those answers. We have our addressing table here with our IP addressing information, VLANs, objective, locate network problems, implement a solution, and then verify we have our connectivity. Scenario: in this activity, we'll troubleshoot connectivity problems caused by improper configurations related to VLANs and inter-VLAN routing. Part 1, locate the network problems. Examine the network and locate the source of any connectivity issues. Commands you may find useful include on R1, the show IP interface brief command, the show interfaces command, and show trunk. I'm going to go ahead and click on R1 here. Click on our CLI tab. Make the window a little bit bigger so it formats correctly. I'm going to go ahead and get into our device, get into privilege exec mode by typing enable, and then I'm just going to go ahead and type in show IP interface brief. Look and see if there's anything wrong with this. I'm going to scroll up to our addressing table. On R1 we have gig 01.10 with an IP address of 172.17.10.1 and in VLAN 10. Right here is gig 01.10, 172.17.10.1. It is administratively down and line protocol is down, but that should be up and up. Normally, that's because we didn't turn the physical interface on, but if we look at the actual physical interface, gig 01, that is status up and up. Huh, well, that's interesting. Administratively down means that somebody's went in there and actually did a shutdown on that. Let's go ahead, let's take care of that first issue. But first, let's go and document our problem. The G01 physical interface is up, but the G0/1.10, that's the sub interface. Is administratively down. The solution would be you have to go and activate that sub interface. Activate the G/01.10 sub interface. Okay, let's go ahead and take care of that issue. And so we are in privilege exec mode here on R1. Type in config t, takes us in global configuration mode, interface G0/1.10. And then to activate it, we do a no shutdown. No space shutdown. Line protocol is up, state is changed to up. Let's go ahead, exit out, and do the show IP interface brief command. Scrolling up to look at our address table, We now see that the physical interface is up and both of our sub interfaces are up. Let's confirm the IP addresses. Those all look good. Those all look good right now. Okay, let's go down and try the second command. Show interface G0/1.10. Show interface G0/1.10. Looking at our configuration here. .10 is up and up. That's looking good. Hardware address is there. Ethernet, that's correct, I think. Yep. That's looking good. 802.1 trunking. VLAN ID is 30. But, oh, what were we on? We were on G01.10. If we look at our addressing table, G0/1.10 is on VLAN 10, but we are set to VLAN 30. Oh, we have a wrong VLAN there. Huh. Okay, so we need to go in and we need to fix that. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the other sub interface. So show space interface G0/1, and that would be .30. Okay, that is up and up. That looks good. We have our hardware address. We have our IP address. That's looking good. We have our encapsulation .1Q and VLAN. Oh, look at that. They are switched. The two VLANs are switched. So we need to go in there and change those around. Okay, let's go ahead and just do a show running here. And we can just make sure. So I do a show running -config. Spacebar, take me down another 24 lines. Here we go, and we can look here. Interface gig 0/1.10 is set up for VLAN 30, and that should be VLAN 10, and then the .30 sub interface is set up for VLAN 10. We need to go in, we need to change these two around. Okay, now instead of hitting spacebar or enter to go down, I'm just gonna hit Control-C, takes me out right there, and now I can go into global configuration mode, config T, go into the interface of gig 0/1.10. That's the interface right here. Go ahead, hit enter. Then we have to re-enter this in to change what VLAN it is. You just re-enter the command with the correct VLAN, it overwrites it. Our command here is encapsulation.1Q, and then the correct VLAN according to our addressing table is VLAN 10 right there. Go ahead and hit 10. There we go. Interface is not permitted. This VID is already configured on VLAN 30. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is take it off of the .10 interface, go fix the .30 interface, and then correct the VLAN 10. You can't have the VLAN 10 be assigned to two virtual interfaces. Okay, to take that command off, no. Encapsulation.1Q 30. Let's go ahead and change interfaces. So interface gig 0/1.30. Let's set that interface correctly. And so that was encapsulation.1Q. Should be VLAN 30. That's correctly. Now let's go back to the .10 subinterface. Interface G0/1.10. And now we can set that encapsulation to VLAN 10 correctly. Encapsulation VLAN 10. And I spelled encapsulation wrong. Let me correct that. Up arrow once, left arrow over. Take care of my spelling mistake. And I still spelled encapsulation wrong. And it's not encapsulation VLAN 10, it's encapsulation.1Q. There we go. And notice, every time I entered it in wrong, Cisco thankfully was able to say, hey, you entered it in wrong. And then finally, when I did get it wrong, or when I did get it entered in correctly, they didn't say anything. No news is good news here with the Cisco operating system. Okay, we need to document that one. And so interface G01. No, it was the sub interfaces. And so here is the sub interfaces. Sub VLAN assignments are switched on R1. The configured assignments do not match the one shown in the addressing table. So what do we have to do to fix it? We needed to remove VLAN 10 from the .10 sub interface. Correct .30 VLAN, and then correct .10 sub interface to VLAN 10. Okay, so that takes care of that. Okay, so that was our show interfaces command. Now we have show interface trunk. Let's go ahead and try that, see what that gives us. Show interface trunk. We have no trunks. That is not going to work in our scenario because this connection right here, this needs to be a trunk because it's handling multiple VLANs of information. This connection over here coming into switch 1 port 11, that's connecting to an end device, so that's an access port. This connection coming in over here to port 6, that's connecting to an end device, so that can be an access port. But this connection here needs to handle VLANs for both of the PC1 and PC2. It needs to handle VLAN 10 and VLAN 30. That means this needs to be a trunk. When we did our show trunk command here in the router CLI, there was no trunks there. We need to go in and we need to take care of that. The router itself, if you have sub interfaces, it will configure that port as a trunk automatically. That means this connection down here, that means the G01 interface on S1 is not a trunk. We need to go and set that as a trunk. That means it is a access port. Let's go ahead and just confirm that quickly. I'm going to minimize our R1 window, open up S1 here, get into our CLI, enable to get into privilege exec mode, config T. Actually, we don't need config T, we don't need global configuration mode. And then we can do a show interface trunk, show interface trunk. We can see that there is no trunk there. Let's go ahead and do a show run here quick. Show run. And we can see right off the bat, interface, fast Ethernet 0. There is no configuration, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the gigabit. So we have to go all the way down to the end interfaces. Gigabit 01 is set as an access port. That's where, if we look at our diagram, our topology, we need this port right here to be set as a trunk so that we can go. We have sub interfaces on the router that turns that port into a trunk, but we need to go in here and explicitly say you are a trunk. Let's go ahead and take care of that, but let's document our problem first. Interface G01 on S1 is configured as an access port instead of a trunk. Then our solution, what's our solution? Change gig 0/1 on S1 to a trunk. Okay, here I am on switch 1. I am in my command line interface. We can get into global configuration mode, go into interface G0/1, and then our command to change that is switch port mode trunk. That changes it from an access port to a trunking port. Go ahead and hit enter. Notice the port goes down to make the change, and then we bring that port back up to bring it online. If we exit out once out of the interface, exit out a second time, global configuration mode, we can do our show interface trunk. And now gig 01 is a trunk and it's working. Okay, so that takes us through these 4 commands we had to work through. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. I think we're done with part 1. On to part 2, implement our solutions. That's what we did as we found our problems. We implemented those. Then part 3, verify network connectivity. Verify the PCs can ping each other and R1. If not, continue to troubleshoot until the pings are successful. Okay, so I'm going to start on PC 1. Open that up. Go to my desktop, open up my command prompt. And first thing I'm going to do is ping my default gateway. My default gateway is listed right here in my addressing table. This is it, 172.17.10.1, 172.17.10.1. That is not working. Okay, first thing we're going to do is look and see. I'm going to type in ipconfig, all one word, no spaces here in the Windows command prompt. Verify my IP addresses, 172.17.10.10. According to the table, that's my IP address, subnet mask of 3255s. We have that, and then my default gateway, 172.17.10.1. 172.17.10.1. Okay, we're going to start off basic troubleshooting. First thing you're going to do is ping the thing closest to you, which is yourself, 172.17.10.10. At least I'm talking to myself. Somebody's talking with me. Then let's try our gateway again. Ping 172.17.10.1. And that's not answering. Okay, well, let's go in and check and see what's happening. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go to R1. R1. Show run. Hit enter, spacebar, spacebar. I don't have an IP address on R1. Or sorry, on my sub interface. Well, we got to go in and set one. I'm going to hit Control C right now. Then we are looking for going into global configuration mode, config T. Then we can go into our interface of G0/1.10, G0/1.10. Type in interface first, then we can go into there. We are in there. Now we got to set our IP address. IP address for gig 01 here is 172.17.10.1. IP address space 172.17.10.1. And because we're setting the IP address, we need to also put in our subnet mask, which is 3255s, 255.255.0. Exit out, exit out. I'm going to minimize R1, open up PC1 here. Let's go ahead and try pinging our default gateway again. Ping 172.17.10.1. And it's working now. Cool. And once again, come back down here. We're verifying that the PCs can ping each other and R1. So I was able to ping R1. Now I'm going to ping PC3, 172.17.30.10. 172.17.30.10. Got to type the word ping first. Ping. And that is timing out. Oh, there it goes. It worked just fine. And we were able to do that. Let's go on to PC3. Let's do it in reverse order. Click on my desktop, command prompt. Ping my default gateway on PC3, which is 172.17.30.1, 172.17.30.1, and then ping PC1, which is 172.17.10.10, 172.17.10.10. Let's go ahead and type ipconfig. Just make sure everything's okay there. We have our IP address 172.17.30.10. That looks good. We have our subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, 255.255.255.0, and then our default gateway 172.17.10.1. Our default gateway of 172.17.30.1. Oh, here we got 10. We have a wrong default gateway, but yet the ping still worked. And what happened here was, because we had two directly connected networks and our IP address was set to an IP address that was on the default gateway, our router was still able to route that completely. And so this is sort of going to be a problem every once in a while. And this might be a little hard to troubleshoot. That's why I went in and I learned to check the ipconfig statement and see what my settings are. We need to go in and correct this. What we can do is we close in PC3 right here. We can go ahead and close our command prompt. That's where it says command prompt, the blue line. Click on the X on the right side. Now we can click on IP configuration. Here in the IP configuration, this is for IP version 4, we can go and correct this subnet mask, changing that third octet to a .30. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and close the IP configuration. That's the X at the right end of the blue line, and go back into my command prompt. Type in ipconfig one more time. And look at it, make sure it's set. And we successfully set our default gateway. We just found a new problem. We have to go update our documentation table. And here it was, PC3 is configured with the wrong default gateway. What do we got to do? We have to go change PC3's default gateway from 172.17.10.1 to 172.17.30.1. And looks like we found 4 problems here for this lab. That was Packet Tracer Lab 4.4.8, Troubleshoot Inter-VLAN Routing. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on configuration examples. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com. There you can find out how to get all these episodes in video and podcast form. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on practical configuration examples for the CCNA. I've created 4 wonderful playlists for you on the CCNA. These episodes, I go through all the concepts that Cisco calls out for the CCNA. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.